Even with all of our advanced technology, we still can't drill any deeper than a few miles into Earth's crust without experiencing some serious issues. It's possible that we will never have the ability to dig past the crust of the Earth. In any case, though, that hasn't kept us from trying. The answers to many questions can be answered just by digging deep enough. From the most massive mines on the planet to drilling holes through sheets of ice in Antarctica. Here are the biggest holes ever created by humans. But first, we'd like to give a shout out to Joe Spofford for getting the right answer to our trivia game at the end of the video. For a person who didn't speak Finnish, they might be a little bit startled to see this sign, and it basically just means don't fall into the ice. Number 11. Kola Super Deep Borehole. This is due to the extreme heat and toxic gases that would fill the tunnel. The Russians started a drilling project known as the Kola Super Deep Borehole, which allowed them to reach depths of 40,502 feet, which is 7.6 miles. Typically, Earth's crust is only about 20 to 30 miles deep before the next layer of Earth is exposed, which is the mantle. Many scientists have pondered the expensive possibility of drilling to the mantle, but this would cost about $1 billion, and the hole wouldn't be thick enough for a human to go down there. Nor would they really want to. During the Kola Super Deep project, much of the equipment became very faulty, which would have to withstand temperatures of over 570 degrees Fahrenheit. Number 10. Lake Berryessa. This large mysterious hole could be a portal to another dimension, but it's not. Sorry to disappoint you. It's actually what's known as the Glory Hole, and we're not sure why it got that name. This lake is found in Napa County, California, where some of the best wines in the US are made. The diameter of the hole is about 72 feet wide and drops an unbelievable 280 feet deep. This was constructed in order to keep the artificial lake from overflowing, keeping it from flooding nearby streets. Excess water will go down the hole. It helps control how deep the rest of the lake gets as well, and it really only gets put to use when there's too much water. Here in this photo, you can see what the structure actually looks like when it's not submerged underwater. Number 9. Asbestos Mine, Canada. Also known as the Jeffrey Mine, this is located in Asbestos, Canada, and was in operation until 2012. It's a whopping 2 kilometers wide and 370 feet deep. Check out this thing on Google Maps, and you can tell how unbelievably massive this thing is. It's definitely the largest asbestos mine in the world. For a while, people would put this mineral into their walls to keep their homes from catching on fire. But recently, there's been a link with asbestos and a disease called mesothelioma, which is a lung condition. This is a toxic substance that people should definitely avoid, so obviously this large mine went out of business. The lake at the bottom might look like an inviting blue, but you can bet your bottom dollar it's highly toxic. The small town that grew with a thriving asbestos industry feels like they've kind of lost their identity once the mine was forced to close, but people still do live here. Number 8. The Berkeley Pit. This massive hole in the ground in Butte, Montana used to be a prosperous copper mine, but now it's filled with extremely toxic chemicals, and you shouldn't go in the pool here. It's about a half mile in diameter and approximately 1,780 feet deep. About 900 feet of that is filled with acidic water that has a similar pH level as lemon juice. People have tried their best to keep birds out of the water, but it's always been an issue with the migrating snow geese. Industrial chemicals such as copper, arsenic, cadmium, zinc, and sulfuric acid are all found in the pit of this toxic lake. The water level of this lake is slowly beginning to rise as well, which could be a huge problem in the future. Some residents in the nearby town are beginning to worry that one day the lake will overflow and spew into the streets. This unique toxic waste pit has actually become somewhat of a tourist attraction, and people are willing to pay a small fee to go and see it. The lake is surrounded in barbed wire for the safety of the public though. Number 7. The Diavik Diamond Mine. In case you thought it was only Africa who had all the massive diamond mines, think again. The Diavik Diamond Mine is found in the Northwest Territories of Canada, and it's one of the largest producers of diamonds in the Northern Hemisphere. This place is also pretty crazy. They produce about 7 million carats of diamonds each year, and you better believe it's not easy to get there. The Diavik Mine is found north of the Arctic Circle, and it's definitely cold. This photo here shows a subarctic landscape that surrounds a diamond mine. You thought getting to work in the morning was tough for you? Imagine trying to get to work here. Just recently in 2015, this diamond mine produced what was known as the Diavik Foxfire 187.7. This is one of the largest rough quality diamonds ever produced. Number 6. Ronnie Kiev. Located in India, the Ronnie Kiev was constructed as a memorial to an 11th century king as a highly decorative stepwell. but it's believed that it was originally dug as a water pit around the 3rd century BC. It mainly makes this list because it's a fairly deep hole built by ancient standards. You better believe they didn't have dynamite back then. It was recently added as a Unesco World Heritage Site and holds over 500 main sculptures. Many of the sculptures are dedicated to the god Vishnu in an extremely detailed fashion. It illustrates architectural capabilities during the medieval ages of India, and the extent of the craftsmanship seems to go far beyond what was necessary. This monument was actually pretty recently discovered too in the 1980s, so it's pretty crazy what kind of things can be underground. The beautiful condition of this monument still displays after nearly a millennium has gone by. Number 5. Derinkuyu Underground City. Possibly the most notable underground city in the world, after centuries of digging, it shows how people could live underground if necessary. This UNESCO World Heritage Site is located in eastern Turkey and it dates back to the 5th century AD. It goes about 200 feet deep below the ground. It's big enough to house about 20,000 people, as well as livestock and of course food storage. Christians began seeking refuge in the mountains of Cappadocia, but also underground. If you venture underground here, you'll see the Derinkuyu underground city that actually could have its origins though with the ancient Hittites. It also has everything a normal city would have, including homes, schools, cellars, storage rooms, churches, and even livestock. The massive underground city reaches peak around 700 AD to 1180 AD while it was protecting civilians. Number 4. Lake Vostok Hole. It's not always solid rock that needs to be removed in order to create a large hole. Russian scientists in Antarctica were faced with a difficult challenge in order to reach the surface of Lake Vostok. A liquid water lake on this continent is below about 2.2 miles of ice, and researchers have predicted that life could be thriving underneath all that. There are some places in Antarctica that are completely frozen with ice, but this isn't one of them. Researchers took on the challenge and they managed to drill a hole all the way down to the lake. They uncovered a thriving ecosystem that has been sealed off for the past 15 million years from the rest of the world. It's believed that there are hydrothermal vents down there, and we all know how crazy things like to live in those vents. This would also lead us to believe that animals could also thrive in oceans below ice sheets on other places in our solar system such as Europa. Lake Vostok is just one of an estimated 400 under-ice lakes across Antarctica, so you have to wonder what else could be out there. Number 3. Big Hole. Yes, the person who came up with the name of this place wasn't very creative. Also known as the Kimberley Mine, this is a massive 1,500 feet deep underground mine in South Africa that was created by hand, despite some disputes on this claim. South Africa is known for their high-quality diamonds, and a large majority of them were found here at the Big Hole. An estimated 6,000 pounds of diamonds were uncovered here, and the hole was dug up using only shovels, pickaxes, and people's hands to work. An estimated 6,000 pounds of diamonds were uncovered here, and the hole was dug up only using shovels and pickaxes, with work from the natives. Eventually, the mine was closed off in 1914 due to the sheer number of lives lost and the lack of production. It goes down about 790 feet from the surface of Earth. But when the workers were gone, it basically turned into a giant lake. The lake itself is about 150 feet deep, but who knows if it might eventually spill over if it continues to rain so much. Number 2. Bingham Canyon Mine. Dating back to over 100 years, the Bingham Canyon Mine is considered to be the largest man-made excavation on the planet. It's located not too far away from Salt Lake City, and this place is still actively copper mining. It's crazy to think how humans can just dig out a huge chunk of crust from Earth with enough motivation. The workers can move as much as 250,000 tons of earth each day, and it gets so big that massive landslides can be triggered by small earthquakes. The mine is so massive that if it were a stadium, it could fit the entire population of the country of Belarus, which has a population of about 9.5 million people. It's about 2.5 miles wide, and at its widest, it's getting so big that the inhabitants of Salt Lake City are concerned that it might affect their water supply. Number 1. The Grasberg Mine. Located in the highest mountain of Papua New Guinea is not only the world's largest gold mine, but also the 3rd largest copper mine in the world. It's also a decent producer of silver as well. It goes down below an impressive 1,800 feet below the surface, stretching a mile wide, and plans to make it even bigger are going to be in effect. It has a total workforce of 19,500 workers. Does Grasberg even sound like an Indonesian name to you? No. That's because it's run by a corporation that's not Indonesian. There's been a lot of environmental concern over this hole, considering the fact that it's on the top of a mountain. Rainfall can lead to contamination of areas at the bottom of the mine as well. Some people feel as though the mine is not nearly as profitable to the people of Papua New Guinea as it should be, and all it really does is pollute their land. This produced an estimated 862,000 ounces of gold in 2012, meaning over $1 billion. Only a minuscule fraction of that is ever given to the workers though.